Hello, and welcome to Future Sounds from Crystal Ball Records, the only music comedy advice podcast where the past, present, and foreseeable future all meet in one incredibly occult record store. My name is Vanessa, I own Crystal Ball Records, and I will be your guide. I have my tarot cards in one hand and my favorite records in the other, and I'm ready to predict tomorrow's hits, revisit yesterday's misses, and yap about today's chaos with my friends who are just as questionable as I am. Each episode, I'll spin through the weird and wonderful world of music, discuss the horrors of working customer service, answer listener questions about the ins and outs of record store ownership, and maybe even discover the next big hit before it goes viral on TikTok. So light your incense, drop your needle, and gaze into my crystal ball, because the future sounds kinda strange, but kinda catchy. Nope, no escape. My son. I just yapped at the camera for like 20 minutes, and I wasn't recording that entire time, so. Hello, and welcome to Future Sounds from Crystal Ball, episode 0.5. My name is Vanessa, I own Crystal Ball Records, and I feel really bad that episode 1 keeps getting pushed back, so I'm here to answer some listener questions. This first question comes from my good friend Haley, who asks, what was the process of developing/creating/making Crystal Ball? Also, I love you. Thank you, Haley, I love you too. As you'll come to find out, episode 1 was recorded on a trip that I took with a bunch of girls I know from the internet. Haley is one of the girls in the group chat, but she couldn't make it on the trip. I promise next time we'll record something together. You should have been there. I should preface this by saying Crystal Ball Records, as a legal corporation, was established maybe a year and a half before it actually opened. I managed and pretty much ran a different record store that was not my own for about 5 years. And the owner and I, we're still friends, don't get me wrong, we're still on good terms. He's a really cool guy, but we kind of started to butt heads a little bit. There was some creative differences arising on the way we thought things should be run. So I started thinking, okay, what if I took all of these ideas and just like did it on my own? Because I was originally going to take over the store that I was managing, but that just kept getting delayed and not happening. And it got to a point where I was like, living is expensive and I kind of need to do my own thing now. I kind of was struggling to come up with a name. My friend Brandon and I at one point had brainstormed the name House of Wolves Records, which wasn't taken anywhere because we were both My Chemical Romance fans. We were like, oh, it's music, that's great, that'll work. And then I test ran that on some people and they were like, hey, that sucks. And I was like, I don't think so, but I'll try something else. So at that time I was like deep in the trenches of Styx autism. Like they're still my everything. I love them so much. We're actually, a lot of the listener questions I got were about Styx, so we're going to cover those later. But I was knee deep in the Styx trenches, and I was going through my Spotify likes, like my top songs of that year, to try to find anything to name my store after, because I was feeling kind of uninspired. And I'm on my couch, and I'm like, I wonder what the fuck I should name my store after, just scrolling through Spotify. And like my number one song on Spotify, like on my on repeat, was Crystal Ball by Styx. And I was like, oh shit, that's so obvious. Because that song is just, we discussed it on episode 1. It is the epitome of being in your early 20s. You don't know what the fuck is going on. The future's really scary. You need answers and you don't know where to get them. And all you have is this fucking crystal ball. So I was like, okay, I'll do that, but I think it's going to be taken. Like, there's no way someone hasn't thought of this. Like, it's literally the perfect name for a store. There's no way it hasn't been taken. And lo and behold, the only thing that came up when I googled Crystal Ball Records was a now defunct record label from I think the 70s, which people still sometimes think I am. People will navigate through my entire website and then send me a question like, do you have all the records I recorded with you in the 70s? Like, I'm sorry, man, that takes me back to a great time when I wasn't alive. But, so nothing else came up. And I was like, okay, then this is it. This is what it's going to be. And I was immediately so inspired because I did a lot of graphic design when I was still in school. And so everything like business cards, stickers, keychains, shirts, everything that you see with my logo on it, I made myself, even down to the website. Like, it was all me. And as soon as I came up with Crystal Ball Records, I was like, oh, this is fucking perfect. I know exactly what to do. And I came up with my logo, which are those two hands next to the crystal ball with the record in it. And I showed that to my family and I was like, hey guys, like, do you think this is cool? And they were like, that's literally so you. I can't think of anything else that would be just as perfect. So I was like, cool. We got the logo, we got the name, we got the domain, which I had to fight some like Russian domain squatters who had crystalballrecords.com. I had to like bet on an auction to get that domain name. In the meantime, I stole crystalballrecords.net, which I am also not giving up, sorry. That's mine now. But another good thing about having a record store where nothing else was called that ever. SEO, if you don't know SEO, it's search engine optimization, which I am kind of good at. It's basically just like, what's your ranking in the Google results? What keywords are people using to get to your website? I can go off about that. I'll do a whole episode on web design if I have to. But yeah, it's really easy when literally nothing else comes up when you Google the name of your record store. Of course, you're going to be number one in the Google search results. So I had the name, I had the logo, I eventually had the website, and I was like, okay, I have an idea of where I want to put this. Like, I have like a concept of a plan. I have like where I want to put the space. Because I knew Bellingham was like a really up and coming town, and they had lost their Newbury Comics years and years and years ago, and nothing ever moved in to fill the void. The nearest record stores were either Worcester or Providence, and those aren't very near at all. So I was like, okay, that's the perfect place. I found the perfect little spot in like a little strip mall with Rubber Chicken Comics is there. If you don't know them, they're so cool. Please pay them a visit if you ever pay me a visit. They're so fun. So when I finally felt, I guess, what I would call ready enough, I was like, okay, I have to tell my boss. I can't not say anything because like he also owns a record store. Even if I say nothing, he's gonna find out eventually. It's funny though, when I went to tell him like, oh, I found a space in Bellingham and I'm gonna open up my own store, basically his reaction was, oh, thank fucking God, because I'm actually closing this store and we're moving it 2 states away. So we both had something to say and it was fine, actually. Things kind of worked out really well. And I'm glad we're still on good terms because he's really chill. But one of my big rules for business ownership is no business partners, because I promise you, even if you're related, no matter how much you love that person, as soon as finances get involved, you are going to hate each other. Anyways, so from there, I was kind of like, okay, I found this space. Now what do I do with it? Problem was, the space was previously occupied by a hair salon, and they had pretty much completely demolished the space when they left. Like, there was no floor, there was no ceiling, the walls were completely stripped of paint. There was pipes sticking out of the walls everywhere where all the sinks had been. And so I was like, okay, we got some work to do. And I knew in my brain, I was like, I want this to look like the house from What We Do in the Shadows. I need that like vampire-y kind of aesthetic. And our contractor, who was like a family friend, it was literally just like one guy who did all the renovations. Shout out Kevin, you did a great job. But so basically when all the renovations were going down, it was like June and July of 2024. So the doors were open. There was paper over the windows so you couldn't see inside, but he had the door open because our HVAC wasn't working at that point and it was really, really fucking hot out. So he was painting the walls that like olive dark green color, and he told me, oh, I had people like stop by and say they didn't like the color of the walls. And I'm just like, it's not for them, it's for me. This is my like mind palace, mind's eye. Like, this is what I envision and this is what it's gonna be, and I don't give a shit if people like the color of the walls because it's not for them. So I had like a really specific vision for what I wanted the interior to look like, and I really didn't care if it matched up with anyone else's ideas of what a record store should be, because quite frankly, I'm a 24-year-old autistic woman. Nothing I do in this industry is conventional. I really wanted to do that Victorian star ceiling, so the ceiling tiles needed to be replaced anyways because the ones that were still there were like moldy and kind of gross and like just not it. So we replaced them with black ceiling tiles, and I put up these gold star decals, which as soon as I turned the heat on in the winter, they immediately started peeling off. So I really need to go fix that because it looks kind of droopy and sad. But we had our game plan for the interior. We had our game plan for basically everything except for stock. So I started putting in some research of like, what are things that I wanted to put at that other record store that I worked at that I just couldn't do because it wasn't my store. I wanted to do all sorts of like crystals, incense, like witchy stuff, like things I know had some kind of overlap with the vinyl record community, because we're all a little weird, especially the women. And I wanted to kind of like create a space where like, if you're a girl and you go to a record store and it has that like record bro mansplainy vibe, I didn't want that. That's the last thing I wanted. So I wanted to make a place where like women and queer people and people of color could go into a record store and not feel like they're gonna be talked down to, basically. So I was like, what can I do to like cater more to people like me, like the weird goth girls? Like, what can I do? So I put in the research and I found all sorts of fun stuff like crystals, oracle cards, fun stuff, incense, candles, everything, the works. And then I was like, okay, we got all that. What's next is obviously the records, and what you see behind me is what I have left. I have maybe 50 records. I started with 1,200. I started collecting when I was 13 years old, and it's kind of a really devastating thing when you have to sell the collection you built up for over a decade, but you have to start somewhere, so that's where I started. I sold pretty much everything I knew that I could maybe slightly easily replace again. Everything that was either incredibly sentimental or completely irreplaceable is behind me. And that's maybe 50 albums. And of course, when people found out I was opening a record store, I had all sorts of friends and family who had collections who were willing to sell them to me or like donate them and help me out, which was really, really nice. So eventually everything just kind of came together. Like, I had the stock, I had the logo, I had the website, I had the space. What's left? And what's left is just hoping people figure out that you exist. Opening a record store is not easy. And opening any business is difficult. You have to be willing to take risks, and honestly, opening up a retail, like brick and mortar retail store in the year of our Lord 2025 itself is a risk when Amazon is just putting everybody out of business. Like with new vinyl especially, I actually have to price check it against like Amazon, Walmart, and Target, because if I price it above them, no one's gonna buy from me. So at that point, I was basically just relying on Instagram advertisements and word of mouth. But then I kind of started like going on Instagram reels and just seeing like what was funny, what was popular. And like a month after I opened, I went to see Weezer at TD Garden, and my partner and I filmed a reel that was like, oh my god, I hope she plays Hot to Go. What are you talking about? This is Weezer. And as it stands right now, I think it has almost 2 million views. Like, it blew up. It really like skyrocketed my follower count. And honestly, as a small business, you really can't ask for more. So I just kept getting really into posting like funny, silly videos that people would interact with, because that would slowly get my name out there. And I posted a few that were like moderately successful, but none really got as big as that Weezer one, just because I think the only other one that got anywhere near as big, the punchline was also Weezer, because I feel like I love them so much, but Weezer's a really easy punching bag. A lot of money got spent on advertising, a lot of time and creativity got spent on advertising too. And eventually from there, it was just like people who knew me from my old job were spreading it through word of mouth. People saw me on Instagram and Facebook, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And this week I had the privilege of holding an event for the band Ghosts that attracted over 100 people. And it's like, I never could have possibly, in my wildest dreams, it's incredible really how fast things move. So yeah, that's basically the really long and short of it, is that I managed another record store and I just kind of wanted to do my own thing. And things just kind of happened to work out really, really well. I will say though, I am basically on par in a debt with my sister, who was a grad student though. So yeah, thank you, Haley, for that question. I'm sure there's a lot more I could talk about, but I think I kind of want to move on. Question 2 was asked by Mason, who asks, do you think vinyl will be as big in 10 years, or do you think someone could open a record store in the future? Absolutely. I mean, I honestly wouldn't have gotten into being a record store owner if I thought it was a dying format. I think especially now with like Record Store Day and all these fun, super limited edition things that like modern artists are doing, everyone puts their stuff out on vinyl now. Sincerely, I don't think it's going anywhere, which I put a lot of trust in that, clearly. But I say, why wait for the future? I think whenever people ask me like, oh, I've always wanted to open a record store, you know, I'm like, do it now. There's no time like the present. You get one life on this bitch of an earth, and you have to do what you want with it. And I did that, and I'm so lucky that I got to do that. But I think everyone should give it a try. One of the really cool things about getting into this industry is just how nice everybody has been. I was kind of expecting it to be like literally every other industry where everyone fucking hates each other, but it's actually quite the opposite. Everyone has been so supportive. When I was like a week from opening, I got a call from a place called Purchase Street Records, and if you live in anywhere in New England, you know who they are, and I literally almost like shat myself. I was like, why are they calling me? And it was just like, to be supportive. It was incredible. It's still incredible. And I try to tell people, like, people who are always like, I want to open a record store. It's like, do it. Everyone's so nice. Just do it. This is literally like the amount of support I've gotten from not just people who own record stores, but pretty much everybody in my life, and even complete strangers, has been absolutely incredible. Like, I couldn't have done it without all of these people behind me, because when you open a business, you're probably feeling pretty insecure and you don't know if it's going to work out, and having even just like complete strangers back you just because they do it and they know you can do it is so nice. Question 3 is from Larry, the broke college student, and their question is, I currently only have milk crates to hold all my records. What's a cost-friendly upgrade I could get? Oh god, Larry, I hate to say it, but I think milk crates are the cost-effective upgrade, because you can get them in bulk and you can get them pretty much anywhere. I currently use the IKEA shelves, but I only have records on the bottom because I sold all my records. If you have records on the top and bottom, you have to get 2x4s and brace it, or else it will collapse, and that is like my worst nightmare. I hate to say it, man. I think that milk crates are the cost-effective solution. There really is no, like, so I'm not gonna lie, vinyl records are expensive. Record collecting itself is expensive, so I understand wanting to save money on fixtures, but if you want to take care of your collection and you want it to last a long time, don't just look for the cheapest option, especially when it comes to things like storage, because God forbid you store them improperly and the collection you spent so much time and money building up gets warped or otherwise damaged. Like, milk crates are a great option, genuinely, and I feel like anything other than that is just going to cost even more, and I hate to say it, man, I think milk crates are the cost-effective option. But also, the record crates that I used when I still had enough records to warrant owning crates, I actually got stuffed animal crates from Target's kids line called Pillow Fort, because they have 3 sizes, like small, medium, and large. The small ones can kind of fit 45s. It's a little tight, but like they can kind of fit 45s. The mediums can fit 10 inches, and the large ones can fit LPs. And I found that worked out really, really well, especially because they were wood and they were really nice and they all matched. But they were like $20, $25 a crate, and like I feel like milk crates that you can get in bulk are definitely cheaper than that. It's not the prettiest solution, but it's certainly old reliable. Like, it works. All right, now we're getting into the Styx questions. So if you're not a Styx fan, thank you for listening. But some of these, if you don't hear me ask your question, I am going to save some of these for when I do another episode with my girls from episode 1, which is coming soon, because I feel like we would have a lot of opinions and we could bounce off each other really well. So this question comes from Noah, which says, okay, but don't you think Tommy and JY are being a little dramatic now to not include Babe or consider a tour with Dennis? They've already proven themselves a rock band, started playing ballads again, and time's just ticking, damn it. This is a toughie. I know they actually don't play Babe because Gowan doesn't want to play it, because Dennis wrote that for his wife, and it would be super weird if he played it, which is valid. That's a pretty fair opinion to have. I think Tommy and JY don't want to play with Dennis because they don't like him. Like, knowing what we know about Styx and knowing their relationships, not just as like co-workers and artists, but as people, I think Tommy and JY aren't being dramatic at all. I think they just don't like Dennis, which is honestly, like, knowing what we do know, what is on public record, kind of fair. Sorry, Dennis, I know you're listening, because you find anything that anyone mentions you in, but like, I feel like they've mentioned before in interviews, like, now that we're sort of many years into the future and silly Larry is in the picture, they just seem a lot happier, and you can tell by the way they act on stage too. Everything just kind of seems more lighthearted. I don't think they're being dramatic at all, and like, I know a lot of people are like Dennis DeYoung truthers, like, he's gonna come back, but like, Gowan has been fronting Styx since longer than I've been alive, which is a horrifying thought, but it's true. And not to be like, get over it, but like, come on, man. It's not gonna happen. They don't like him. And like, this is just me speculating. Obviously, none of us know the facts except for the people who are actually involved. Like, we only know what they show us as public figures. But granted, knowing what we do know, I don't think they're being dramatic, and I also don't think they're ever gonna tour with Dennis again. And also, like, circling back to what I said earlier, it's not, don't blame Tommy and JY for the fact that they don't play Babe. Because Larry is right, it would be weird if he played it, because that song was for Dennis's wife, and it would just kind of not sit well with a lot of people, I think, if he played that. Okay, our second to last question comes from Lawrence's number one fanboy, who asks favorite Larry song. And I will preface this by saying we spend a very large chunk of episode 1 just yapping about Lawrence Gowan, because that's why we were all in Ottawa, was to see him play 2 shows. But, oh god, probably Out of a Deeper Hunger. Honestly, just anything off of Lost Brotherhood. I paid $75 USD for my copy on vinyl, and it was mint, and it was so worth it, because it is such a good album. If you guys don't know Lost Brotherhood by Gowan, please stream it. It is so, so, so good. But yeah, definitely Out of a Deeper Hunger. It does something to me. Do you ever listen to a song or like see a movie or read something that resonates with you so deeply that you can just like feel it in the pit of your stomach? Because that's how I feel about that song, especially like reflecting on the Ottawa trip. Like, we literally waited outside the back door of the venue to see this man 2 nights in a row. So like, Out of a Deeper Hunger, I'm at your door tonight, Larry, knock knock. Like, if you're listening to this, reissue your vinyl. But yeah, it's really anything off of Lost Brotherhood, honestly. I don't know if that's a basic bitch answer, but that. Okay, our last question is still a Styx question. It comes from Noah, who says, hello, it's Noah again. Hi, Noah. What's your favorite Tommy hairstyle? Sobbing emoji. Mine is Cornerstone 1979 tour era. Sobbing emoji, prayer hands emoji. So I don't know if this is like a hot take or if it's a basic bitch answer. I like 2025 Tommy, like current year Tommy. Tommy's one of those people who just like ages like a fine wine. Like, I see pictures of him from the Cornerstone era and he looks like he's 12 years old. I'm sorry, it's true. But like, you look at him now and he just like chef's kiss, aged like a fine wine, beautiful, discovered his curly girl hair routine, love to see it. Like, I think my favorite era of not just Tommy hairstyle, but like Tommy is 2025, current year, Tommy Shaw. God bless. Alright, that's it for questions. Thank you for listening to my never-ending yap session. I promise the next episode will be more entertaining because it's not just me talking to myself. It's a whole group of insane, delusional 20-something-year-old girls talking to themselves. So, thank you for listening. As always, please support your local record stores. That's it. Thank you. Future Sounds from Crystal Ball Records is recorded and produced by us, Crystal Ball Records. You can find our website at crystalballrecords.com or on Instagram at crystalballrecords. Please feel free to send in listener questions at crystalballrecords.com/podcast. We'd be happy to answer them in a future episode. Music used is Feral Angel Waltz by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. And as always, thank you for supporting your local record stores. Today's card is Wheel of Fortune, and the 8 ball says it is decidedly so.